Culinarily, spring is one of my favorite seasons because after the dreary, bleak winter, we can finally start using produce and ingredients that are full of color. And nothing highlights that better than this delicious beetroot and goat cheese gnocchi with wild garlic pesto. We start off by roasting our beets. Now, we're going to want to clean them, obviously, and then we're going to put the bottom of a pan with just a little bit of water. You don't want to submerge the beets, but you do want them to kind of help steam them. So then you put your beets, put a little salt on them, and then just cover them in aluminum foil. Also at this time, you're going to want about 2 medium-sized russet potatoes. You're just going to want to poke them with a fork a couple times. Put both of these into a 400-degree oven for about 45 minutes. After you've pulled the beets out of the oven and given them enough time to cool off to a point where it's safe to handle them with your hands, put on some gloves so that your hands don't become stained red with the beet juice, and the skin should be able to peel right off just with your hands. In a food processor, put your chopped up beets, a whole egg, and about 1/4 pound of goat cheese, and obviously a little bit of salt and pepper just to season it. And then just puree that until it's nice and smooth, or about as smooth as you can get it in a food processor. Like the beets, you should be able to peel the skin right off of the potatoes with your hands. Once they're peeled, pass the potatoes through a ricer, and then combine that by folding in the beet and goat cheese puree. Once you've made sure that there's no clumps in your potato and beet mixture, start adding 2 cups of whole wheat flour, about 1/2 cup at a time, and slowly fold that in. Eventually, you're going to want to put some gloves on and just do this by hand. You're going to want to make sure that your dough is not too wet, but you also want to make sure that it is not too dry. That way you can roll it out here into a nice, long, thin strip. After that, use a bench scraper or a cake cutter or anything like that really to cut your gnocchi into gnocchi-sized pieces. Bring a pot of salted water up to a boil. The water, when you're cooking pasta, should be about as salty as the sea, so pretty salty. Add the gnocchi in slowly, little by little, and don't do it all at once because you do not want them to clump up together. Once the gnocchi are firm to the touch, you're going to want to pull them out and dip them into an ice bath. Here, I just have some ice underneath this perforated pan so that the water stays ice cold, but the gnocchi itself doesn't get mixed in with a bunch of ice pieces that I then have to fish out separately. In your food processor, you're going to want to add your wild garlic, parsley, olive oil, some Parmesan cheese, a little bit of lemon juice, and a little bit of regular garlic. And you're just going to slowly drizzle in extra virgin olive oil until it's not smooth exactly, but pureed a little bit. Over medium-high heat, melt some butter and drop your gnocchi in. You're not going to want to move the gnocchi for about 45 seconds or so because you want to get some brown color on those sides. Once that color has been achieved, turn off the heat and slowly drizzle in a little bit of vegetable stock to create a kind of a sauce. Don't drizzle in the vegetable stock too quickly or too much of it, or the sauce will break and you'll just have a lot of like greasy butter everywhere, and that's not good. Right at the end, I like to toss in a little bit of freshly chopped parsley just to add a little bit of color into the dish. As far as the plating goes, I usually like a nice wide bowl with high sides to kind of keep everything in place. I put a nice little bed of our pesto right there at the bottom, and I start to pile the gnocchis on up high. delicate touch is important here, just because you don't want the gnocchi to kind of fall all over the place. As you can kind of see, one kind of got away from me there, but I can fix that in a little bit. We finish the dish by garnishing it. I usually like to top it off with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and here I'm adding a little bit of beet chips. Usually I just slice some beets really thin, and then I put them in the oven at about 250 degrees with the convection fan on for about 30-45 minutes until they dry out and they just get a nice crunch to them. And then right at the end, just a little bit more of that fresh chopped parsley just for some color. And there you have it. A nice, vibrant spring dish to bring some color after the bleak dreariness of winter. If you liked this video, please subscribe and leave a comment down below on something else you might want me to teach you how to make.